Anyway, thank you everyone for being here. It's gonna be hard for me to talk even though it's been a long time. I don't wanna come out here and talk about this experience, but I think it's time for me to talk. I have kids. I don't want them to know about this, but as I am being introduced, I'm a housekeeper. I came here in Hawaii knowing nobody except my husband, and I work as a housekeeper. I'm immigrant, and my first job is hotel workers. I'm so happy to have a job. And as a housekeeper, I thought, you clean the room, you earn money. But there's a situation that one day, we always told that we gotta knock the door before we open the door. So I knocked the door, and the guest told me, come in. As I went inside the room, it's a husband and wife, and they exposed themselves in front of me, and I'm so scared because again, I'm new at that time in Hawaii. I don't know anything about harassment. Exposing themselves in me, I just feel so scared. I don't know where to go. I feel like I violate their rights. I feel like it's my fault why I got into that situation. I want to talk to my boss, but I always told that customer is always right. If I go to them, are they gonna believe on me? Am I gonna lose my job? I keep it to myself. I never said it to anybody. I never even told to my husband. All I want is just forget about it and just blame myself. But after I hear what is going on into this Me Too, I don't even want to talk about it. I was being asked, we're trying to have a training about sexual harassment. I don't even want to talk about it. It's so hard for me to open it and say what's happened to me in those days. I'm young, I'm 25 years old at the time, I'm an immigrant, first time in Hawaii, first job that I ever had. And I was exposed into this situation. I keep it 27 years ago, and every time I talk about it, I still cry. For some reason, I don't know. But I think it's time for me to come out, even though I cry, even just talking on the phone, talking to Jen about it yesterday. And it's because of the fear that I have. During those days, I still feel the picture is so still clear on me. It's so hard. I don't even want to come over here and talk about it, but I know there's a lot more happening in there. I know there's a lot of workers or a lot of female or male are being harassed in there. But it's so hard to come out. It's so hard to come out and talk about it. It's not that I'm glad that it's happening now, that people are coming out, of people that saying I'm harassed, I'm being harassed, but I think it's time for us to come out. It's time for me to say something to prevent what's more happening out there. I'm an organizer, and I know I hear a lot. People, it's so hard for them to talk about. There's one situation that I know happened It happened in one of the housekeeper. And I know they're not gonna come out and just talk easily. If it is hard for me, it's 27 years ago. 27 years ago, and it's still chasing me. Maybe if I talk earlier, maybe I'm not like this right now. And I'm not gonna cry anymore. So that's what happened. All I want is for people out there, say something. Don't be scared. It's gonna hunt you, and it's hunting me for 27 years. That I wish I come out. And I need to do something about it. I didn't know anything about what is sexual harassment back then. Exposing somebody themselves in front of you, I didn't know that it's an harassment. What I know in harassment is you're being attacked and you're being sexually harassed. That's all I know. I'm from Philippines and I don't know anything about it. That's why I cry about it, because I feel like I'm being violated. It's just because I'm Filipina. And it's because I'm just a housekeeper. And it's because I'm just a worker. But I know if I start here, I'm just hoping and wishing that somebody else come out and say their story. Because nothing will be done. Nothing can be fixed if we're not gonna come out. I always think also that, are people gonna laugh at me if I said this? Are they gonna say that's not even an harassment? But every time I think about it, how I feel, how I'm being violated, now I know that there's people out there that I can talk to. My husband is no longer with me, but I never even talked to him about it before. It's just coincidence, maybe, because my husband's... That's my story, and I just hoping people will come out and talk about their story. Thank you.
Gemma has given me consent to say a little bit more context, because I met her 6 or 7 years ago when I was working with Local 5 Women and doing some presentations based on other rumors of things like this happening to women that were in housekeeping and being forced to watch acts of sex. And as Gemma sort of mentioned, that this is something that she knows from her friends that have happened to other people, where they were physically forced to watch. And I just want to say first, Gemma, that when you talked to me, you said one of the reasons why it was so hard is because you blamed yourself for 20-something years. And until last year, that was only when she felt that she could really start to come forward. And that's over the years, I have heard so many women saying, I thought that it was partly my fault. And that was a huge reason why they couldn't come forward. Or, as Gemma told me, that she didn't know that it was even in that realm of possibility of being a civil rights violation. She didn't know that it was something that was being a Filipino immigrant that just came here. And I just cannot underscore when we talked about this, how she felt about this threatening your job security and having to live with that every day. So when you have when you think about the definition of sexual harassment, for it to be hostile environment, you also have to show that it has impacted your ability to do your work. What woman is going to come forward, or male victim, and say, yes, it's negatively impacting my work, right? And not feel the risk of being let go or fired, because not only are you a troublemaker, but you can't get your job done. So I think it's really important for us to understand all the different ways that sexual harassment impacts you, and it doesn't have to be a touching. There are so many ways. We have students on campus who are forced to watch porn by their partners, by strangers, getting emailed. It doesn't also matter about intent. It doesn't matter that the person that's doing the harassing intends it. It's the impact. And it's subjective. So it was so painful for me to hear Gemma's story, and wasn't the first time or the second time that I heard it, and it still broke my heart to think that she thought that not only was she to blame, somehow that she contributed to it, but didn't even realize that she could have some resources, that she could actually have some help. And we're going to talk about that in the later segment, because I think it's really important for survivors to have confidentiality if it is something that you wanted. And Gemma, you told me all you wanted was to be able to feel like you were validated, that this was something that was horribly wrong and dehumanizing. And what you said was so poignant. You said, then maybe I could have, if I had something like this, I could have been talking about it this sooner.
Yes, and like I said earlier, if I only knew back then that it is a sexual harassment, I should have talked about it already. I don't have to wait for 27 years and hearing that there's a lot more out there that being harassed, even though it's 27 years or just yesterday or decades ago, and with those stories that I've been hearing, it is actually decades ago, and it's still hunting.
And I want to say one more thing about that for all of you out there that are in education or academia, that for Title IX, there is no, deadline for, like a statute of limitations, if you will, for it. The educational system, if they receive any federal dollars, are not supposed to discriminate based on sex. So sexual harassment falls under the framework of sex discrimination. And rape and sexual violence fall under that umbrella. That's why sexual violence is just a conceptual term to be an umbrella of all those behaviors that include also penetration, but could also be sexual exploitation. And these are the conversations we have not had about all of those nuances and how those behaviors lead to far more egregious violent behaviors. That's the conversation we need to start as a result of this Me Too. And so I thank you, Gemma, for starting that conversation for us.